In a lot of ways, Jess, Ollie, and I are like the Inquisitorius of fanfiction. Start your sublight engines, it's time for RuPaul's Pod Race, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome back to our weekly Star Wars show coverage and the start of the Obi-Wan show. We're recording this during Star Wars Celebration, so Jess won't be with us this week, though they will be here in spirit. And stay tuned for a special message that they sent us. I'm Mel. I use they them pronouns. You can find me on social media at Melvin Culpa, and my gender this week is parkour artist Reva.
So true.
So true. She was jumping.
Obsessed.
I was like, girl, where are you going?
It was crazy. I was like, that is so, okay, go off.
No, because I do fear that she is like the toxic fanboys who are like, the helicopter lightsabers are stupid. She said, I have one and I'm not going to use it because I think they're stupid.
No, and if anyone, if any dude bro complains about her at all, vis-a-vis her athletic ability, those are the same people who are like standing the Knights of the Old Republic, and I'm like, have you guys seen some of those battles? That shit was insane, crazy bonkers. I think she is doing just fine. Thank you very much.
Truly, if anyone says anything bad about Reva, I fear that I may become a toxic fan. I may become toxic and I will be gatekeeping.
I can't wait for them to bring helicopter lightsabers so that people can be like, oh, I have so much to complain about, and I'm gonna be like, I've been waiting for this one because I love I love the helicopter lightsabers.
No, because I heard the sound. I heard the sound of the helicopter lightsaber when Quizzy pulled his shit out, and I was like, the day has come. You bitches, which Inquisitor will fly first? Stay tuned. Keep updated on the space.
I'm sorry, did you guys see Jess's text? They bumped into fucking Tem. Like, physically. Like, they were like, oh, hey.
Update from Star Wars Celebration. Jess at Kawaii Jess Yo from RuPaul's Pod Race ran down Tamara Morrison. Not clickbait.
He's
Hashtag
dead.
Jess's over party. I'm Ollie. I use any pronouns. You can find me at social media at Ollie Fresh. That's fresh with a PH. And my gender this week is actually Jess approved. I texted them before and they said, I gave two options and they said you should go with this one. So my gender this week is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I'm sorry.
Not Obi-Wan's.
Yeah, I think that it's really funny that a Jawa was like, damn, bitch, you're.
We can't start this episode.
Oh, yes, we can. I'm just saying, I think it's deeply funny because he was actually the one that got Charlie XCX to sign that douche bulb, and then I guess never touched it ever again. So maybe do better, Obi-Wan.
I hate you people. Hi, I'm Claudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on social media at Kaludia Says, Kaludia Says. My gender this week is Union Representatives Obi-Wan and Kanan Jarrus. For those of you who have read the novel A New Dawn, it starts quite a lot like Obi-Wan in this episode where he's just like working 9 to 5 like Dolly Parton. And he is, one with the working class. And I do believe that had they had more time, both of them would be unionizing their workplace. And the plot of A New Dawn is kind of him like, he's supposed to be hiding, but then he ends up advocating for workers' rights. So, Obi-Wan, get on it.
This is actually so interesting because that was actually Claudia's gender a while ago, was Kanan Jarrus union representative like months ago, like when we were still talking about the Bad Batch. So yeah. I just had a memory of that. So I like that we're bringing it full circle. This is actually the last episode of the podcast, everyone.
Hi, I'm Noah. I use he, him pronouns. You can find me on TikTok at The Jewish Jedi. And my gender this week is hilariously related to Mel's by accident. It is Catwoman 2004, starring Reva the Inquisitor.
Oh,
so true.
For those who have not seen the cinematic masterpiece that is Catwoman 2004, this is a movie wherein Halle Berry, or rather a CGI prop of her, is spun around a television screen. And they have so many shots of like her perspective while she's like running up walls. And there were a couple shots in episode 2 wherein that was happening. And I was pissing myself because it was the greatest thing ever put to cinema. Also, if you hate the 2004 Catwoman movie because you're like, it's bad, you have shit taste. I said what I said.
So we're going to be discussing 2 episodes of Obi-Wan today. Let's get into it. What were the general vibes, everybody?
I really rather enjoyed the Obi-Wan episode. or episodes, sorry. 2 of them dropped at the same time. Also early, which felt like a lot. We were planning on watching it together, and it was a thing of like, ugh.
Okay, can I walk the people through the evening that I had because of this event? So here's the thing. I live on the East Coast, and I was not in the mood or ability to stay up till 3 a.m. to watch it. I just don't. So I said, okay, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to bed early, and then I'm gonna wake up at 3 a.m. and just watch 2 episodes, and then not go back to bed and just go to work afterwards. That was my plan. Okay. However, so I took 2 melatonin gummies like a responsible adult, and I said, I'm gonna go to bed now. I'm gonna be done. Okay. And then right as I'm laying down for a long winter's nap, I received a phone call from Ollie, and they were like, they're releasing it early. And I was like, what? And they were like, oh, it's releasing at midnight. And I was like, but I'm gonna be asleep in 20 minutes. They said, how much melatonin did you take? And I said 6 milligrams. And they said, that will not knock you out. And I said, you don't know me. I know my body. I know what's going to happen in about 22 seconds. What I'm going to do is conk out. I'm not going to hear from anyone for the next 12 and a half hours. So then I said, okay, something must be done about what is occurring this evening. So I went downstairs. I walked all the way down, and I opened my fridge, and I got a Celsius out, energy drink. Okay. And I
You're
said,
not sponsored. You don't have to say everything.
But I want to. And I said, okay, should I drink this? I'm not entirely sure. So I cracked it open, and I took several large sips, and I said, I think I might just finish it. Then I didn't. And then I drank like 3/4 of it. And I really felt like I could hear things beyond the mortal veil that others were not privy to. Anyway, then I sat down and I watched 2 Obi-Wan episodes. And then it was like 2 a.m. and I said, well, I have to get back to bed. I have work in the morning. So what did I do? I took 2 more melatonin gummies. I said, time to go to bed. So I just went on like a roller coaster of caffeine and hormonal imbalance. And I woke up the next day. And you know what I did? I went to work.
Anyways,
I liked it though. I thought it was very fun. I thought it
was really weird when he had the bottle of Celsius energy drink like right on the screen. Like I thought that was really weird.
It's like that scene in Riverdale that just came out where he's like, my Chime credit card shows the screen what credit card he is using.
There's a scene in the Vampire Diaries where a character's like, so I binged it. And I think it's very much like that. Sponsored. I like to think that Obi-Wan drinks because of like his living situation. He is living in a cave.
He is a monster girly.
Yeah, no,
Bro,
but
he wishes he was Rey.
But hear me out on this. Off-brand monster, where like one of the letters is missing, and he's like, "That's close enough, right?" And then he drinks it and he can't move for 13 hours.
Bottoms up and the devil laughs.
Exactly, but yeah, no, he's living. He's working as like a meat cutter, and he keeps stealing from work, which Claudia noted every time that like he's so not conspicuous about it. He like pulls his apron forward, looks back and where like he's crossing a street.
It's his white man privilege. But also, can I admit something? When I first saw that scene, I thought he was working making bricks.
Yeah, we heard the like big argument you and Claire had, as Claire was like, that is a meat, Claudia.
Yeah, so we did watch this episode, all 4 of us plus Claire, Claudia's partner. And there was a point where in our Discord, we could hear the 2 of them having an argument where Claudia was like, why is he bringing bricks home? And Claire was like, that is a meat, Claudia. I was like, oh, they're fighting. Domestic dispute. Not domestic dispute. What is it called?
Obi-Wan making Wagyu beef.
Yeah, kind of. What if he's like that raccoon-controlled chef from Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Oh, so true.
Spoilers for Everything Everywhere All at Once, I guess.
Obi-Wan in his Ratatouille.
It was called something different in Everything Everywhere All at Once. So
yeah.
Only 2 of the bitches in this call have watched that movie.
When is it gonna hit streaming? Okay.
Oh my god.
True.
I will be buying that movie with my own money when it is available to do so.
This is a plug for Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's far better than Star Wars.
It is, and also followed by, this is completely unrelated, but I feel like I need to rant about it real quick. I'm so sorry. This episode's off the shits. You can't find Morbius anywhere on the internet. Well, I bet you could find it somewhere illegally.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Literally, every time I sign into my fucking smart TV, it's like, do you want to rent this movie? And
okay.
I texted you guys that
Listen.
it showed up on my smart TV of what movies do you want to watch, Morbius or Sonic 2? And I was like, oh, it's Mel and Ollie right next to each other.
Because the other day, I was trying to figure out where I could watch Morbius. I was trying so hard. I was fighting for my life.
Please.
Mel, you are a part of all the people who memed a sequel to this movie of happening.
I have not seen
done.
it.
I am canceling you.
No,
I know the plot point for point, beat for beat.
No, because you have spread the word of Morbius, even if you haven't seen it. It travels via word of mouth. Word of mouth? Is that the right phrase?
That's the phrase.
Word of mouth. And you have perpetuated it. And that's somewhere I can't follow you. So please don't go down that path. I feel like fucking Padme right now, begging you not to go to the Morb side.
There was a Twitter Thursday that was returning the entire movie plot point by plot point that I did read the entirety of. So now I too have been cursed with the knowledge of the entire section of Morbius. Okay. Yeah, but I needed a refresher. Like the part where it orphaned him and
oh my god, wait, guys. Do you guys remember that part in Obi-Wan where Reva is like about to, like, she stabs the Grand Inquisitor and then goes to get Obi-Wan, and then Morbius jumps in. And then Morbius jumps in and says, "It's Morbin time, third sister."
That's my multiverse of madness.
I was thinking Quizzy, like he saves Quizzy, like it's like a.
Oh, well,
like
that's
a
why
to the Morbius movie.
No, well,
and then
that's
they kiss
why
on the mouth.
No, but that's why while that's why Obi-Wan and Leia are able to get away, was because Morbius had stopped Reva from chasing them.
For our new listeners, we call the Grand Inquisitor Quizzy.
You're welcome.
That is his name. Everyone should be calling him that.
Okay, concept. More busy. Which is the ship of Morbius and Quizzy.
Quizzius.
I'm gonna kill you with sleep, Noah.
Quizzius?
Anyway, Morbius.
They're both fucked up in white.
Can we be a Morbius podcast now?
No, please.
Anyways, can we get back to Kenobi?
I would like to discuss this.
There's the person who wanted to talk about Morbius.
No, because I had to. Okay, no, because this is actually the point that I was trying to make, is that I was struggling figuring out like a place to rent it, so we didn't end up watching it. We weren't going to watch it anyways. We ended up watching Rogue One. Anyways, point is, everywhere I was trying to find to stream it wanted me to pay $20 fucking dollars. And I couldn't pirate like onto a TV because I wasn't like at my house. Like there was no way for me to like do this in any real way because everyone was moving. We were just trying to put a movie on while we were moving, and we were like, wouldn't it be funny if it was Morbius? Anyways, all to say, we watched Rogue One. It was pretty good.
So Kenobi is a show that we watched.
You guys watched Kenobi?
Well, I was in like a melatonin and energy drink fueled fugue state, so I'm not sure if what I watched was real or a series of hallucinations, but we'll get to that.
I'm gonna be a very toxic person and say I quite liked it, and I had a bit of an emotional breakdown, and I feel like I'm entering my toxic positivity era, but like I have found something to love about all of the Star Wars series. We started with the Bad Batch. Obviously, The Mandalorian is all bops. You know, I liked the Bad Batch. However, it has been quite ruined by the whitewashing. The Book of Boba Fett has a lot of stuff to love, even though I do believe that a lot of it was ruined by COVID. And I hate when people praise one thing to praise one thing like by criticizing another. But this thing, like, I was like, I already know that I'm gonna like this. Obi-Wan has always been a favorite character of mine. What I didn't know was like how good it would be. Like there were certain things that I was like, we had in our Discord with our friends, we had a cameo betting pool, and it's just for fun and whatever, and we have advanced rules, whatever, and I was being very conservative with my guesses. I wasn't putting what I wanted to show up. I was putting like what I actually think is realistic, and the ways I was pleasantly surprised, like the thing about being a Star Wars fan is you have to just keep your expectations low and then be happily surprised all the time. And when I watched this, it was like, not only were my expectations low and you exceeded them, you jumped over them, and that never happens with Star Wars. And so I was like, I don't know what to do with this feeling. I am screaming, crying, and throwing up. And here we are going to get into spoilers. Most of it was because Bail Organa is my special little guy, and I have been waiting for Bail Organa and Bria and young Leia content forever. So I quite possibly did pass away.
I can confirm that I did hear you start audibly crying in the Zoom call like multiple times. Like I think that like they showed Kid Leia, and then in my head I was like, should I mute her for right now?
I was on push to talk, so I was you only heard a
Oh,
little
so you
bit
were
of me
choosing
crying.
to, okay.
No, I was like pushing. It was pushing the button, and then I was gonna talk, and then I just started crying. Also, Ventress is one of my favorite characters, and Reva, as far as we know so far, I think is a lot like her, and so I quite possibly was screaming, crying, and throwing up the entire time, and I am so used to being let down that it was very weird to just genuinely have a good time.
Speaking of Reva, and also just like the Inquisitors in general, one, I was actually thrilled at how early they showed up in the episode. I thought they were going to be like an end of episode reveal, and then I was like, oh my god, hi. I will also say this. Famously, I am not a Jedi hater. I know that many of the other girls are not, but I am. I like the Jedi a lot. And like Quizzy's little speech about the Jedi, I was like, oh hey, those are the values actually of many of the Jedi still, despite the circumstances of the galaxy. I kind of like that.
First of all, I really did rather enjoy these first two episodes. And like specifically, I think I've seen some critiques of people being like, okay, well, so many Jedi survived Order 66. Like, what the fuck? And it's like, okay, well, first of all, no, these wicked didn't. But second of all, every Jedi that we have seen thus far has had like a very important reason to have survived. Even if in the case of that one little guy, it was just to be like, hey, Obi-Wan, this is pretty fucked up. Could you like do something? And then he's like, no. And then he dies in a passion. And that is unfortunately his one purpose was to die. But like, I don't think it is that wild that, you know, a couple dozen Jedi survived Order 66, and like we're seeing kind of the effects on their lives that this has had on them. But yeah, the Inquisitors at the beginning of the episode were fucking crazy bonkers, and I also was I don't know, like that, how all of this just kind of went, like it just kept hitting was good, but also I felt like I was just like inundated. I was like, whoa, there's so much happening all at once, and so it ended up being a little overwhelming.
I will say Star Wars fans are annoying because all they do is fucking complain. And because I have seen people be like, well, you know, the Jedi are so OP. How could the clones not take them all out? And then of course, my partner Claire was like, they were, number one, genetically engineered to do so. They also had the element of surprise, and also, you know, they outnumbered the Jedi, whatever. But also, you know, kind of the whole point of the Inquisitors, whatever, is that they didn't get all of them. Like, that is kind of the point, is they didn't get them, and it wouldn't be realistic for them to get all of them. And there's also not that many Inquisitors. So, you know, and something very funny in their dialogue in this episode was that it was kind of like, it was, again, kind of bureaucratic of like, oh, we got to just like get the random little guys that we get. And she's like, nah, I want the big fish. Like, clearly they have like a roster.
Okay, Obi-Wan is on the top of the FBI's most wanted list. Not clickbait.
Literally.
I will also say about the Inquisitors showing up, I know that there was a lot of apprehension about how they were going to look, because two of them are characters that we have seen before in Rebels. And I think it was Noah who said while we were watching the episode, like, something about Rebels is that the art style is pretty stylized. Like, none of the characters look particularly like real people. But so adapting it was obviously going to be a chore. And I know there's something about like, oh, well, we've seen other characters from Utapau. Like, so it's weird the Inquisitor looks like this. I thought he looked great.
Yeah.
I was really impressed. And also like the ability that he had to like emote, because that is something that with a lot of prosthetics, as much as I would have liked to see him be super like Powan like, I would have loved to see that. But I do really like that we can actually see what is going on vis-a-vis his eyebrows and facial expressions.
Yeah.
Which I think
was the same, I think.
Yeah, I'm interested to see a bit more of Fifth Brother, just because we didn't get to see a whole lot of him. But I'm so far, like, I'm really satisfied with how they have done things visually. I think that if we talk about like the visuals of this episode, the aesthetic, I think is really, really interesting so far. There were some very, very distinct characters as well as very distinct locations, and all of them, in my opinion at least, I thought looked really well done and very fleshed out.
The Rebels art style really veers towards these thinner character models, which just makes it so hard to like quote unquote accurately translate. But yeah, I agree. He looked good. Like for what they were going for. I liked it a lot. I loved the lightsaber, especially with like, their sound effects and visuals. And something I will say that I imagine, which is because of when these shows were filmed, is that the Tatooine of this show feels a lot more lived in and a lot more alive than the Tatooine of Book of Boba Fett. And I know that is almost definitely just because of like how many people were allowed to be on set given when filming was happening. But I do think it made the environment altogether feel a lot more cohesive. And that's the same on what is the planet they went to?
Dayu.
Dayu also feels like a city, like that people live in. It doesn't just feel like set dressing, which I liked.
And I will say to that, like, Dayu also felt like not like Coruscant, which was nice. Like,
Yeah.
like it had like certain things, because I think visually Star Wars like has in urban settings similar aesthetics, but like that is to be said of like the country of the United States. Like urban settings, there are going to be skyscrapers. Wow, who would have guessed? And so I don't know, I really liked the aesthetics, like of just like the detail.
Shout out
in
to the
both
production
areas.
design. Like,
Also, I feel like something that I just like as someone as a media consumer, but like what I like about shows is when you understand the geography of a place that you're in, and all of these like rooftop shots that were happening on Dayu like made it feel so much more like I knew where everything was while it was happening, except for one specific sequence where Reva is running and it's like, girl, where are you going?
so one thing that of course sometimes I go on Tumblr, and the Tumblr girlies, they open my eyes to certain parallels or whatever. And somebody brought up the parallel of in Attack of the Clones when Anakin is just booking it through the crowds on Coruscant. It's very much like when baby Leia is booking it through the crowds and Obi-Wan's like, no, wait, stop. And it's a parallel to that, and it's very cool to see like the cities are different, but like it's clearly a visual parallel there. But then also one thing that Rebels really excelled at was they were introducing us to a new planet, Lothal, and all this kind of stuff. And then eventually they were on another planet for a while. And a thing that they would do is like have interesting locations, and then they would and then especially like right from the jump in the first couple episodes, they would have like Ezra learning how to parkour jump like a Jedi between things. Like overall, it represents something that I really like about this show so far, in that it is having respect and both like literal connections and also thematic connections and storytelling connections with almost every other part of Star Wars. People are like, oh, it's respecting the prequels, and I'm like, there's obviously the original trilogy and the prequels in there, but also stuff for obviously Rebels fans and Clone Wars people and the sequels even. There were a lot of things actually with the sequels. I'm sure there will be more. There's just the stuff about all of the droid rights stuff. Shout out to the Solo stands. Like there's truly like something in there for everyone. And I just was like, Deborah Cho often has talked about how she's like a really big Star Wars fan, whatever. And I was like, ma'am, you motherfucking get it. Like, I could tell from this. I was like, oh, this is what I'm often missing in not just Star Wars, but in like anything that's a big franchise project, is like live in the thing that you have created. And I think that this has been doing it quite well. And that's why I have quite enjoyed myself so far.
Yeah, that is something I agree. And that is all to say also that I feel like this is excelling where Boba Fett lacked, in a sense of like the appreciation for the prequels. And not saying that Book of Boba Fett didn't. I think the biggest problem with Book of Boba Fett was writing. I don't think it was COVID and writing. Those were the two things I found were the weakest things, even though COVID. Anyways, point is, with Obi-Wan, like, it makes sense that, like, while I do feel like this is the Obi-Wan show, we are focusing in on him and the struggles he is going through. There's a B plot that's intertwining, that did not feel the same with the Mandalorian. See, I just fucking said it. With fucking Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian coming in and just kind of like hijacking the end of that show. Like, Din could have been in that show and it wouldn't have been. It could have been fine, but it just got so overwhelmingly.
Yeah. I will actually say it is kind of similar to, we have our issues with the Bad Batch, but a thing that the Bad Batch, and I think this is just something that television does well, or good television does well is, you had the main plot with the Bad Batch, and then you brought in like a little thing with Fennec on the side, and then it intersected because it was about developing Omega as a character. And I feel like that's very similar to what happened here. And you're like, oh, you can have a B plot and it not steer the whole show away.
Yeah, and I think also it helps that we know everything that is going to happen to Obi-Wan. So like everything that is happening in this plot is a recontextualizing things we already know. So we don't have to worry about like, okay, well, is Boba Fett gonna die in his own fucking TV show? No, Obi-Wan is not gonna die here. He has that plot armor. This is where plot armor is like actually very helpful. Even though at the end of episode 2, Quizzy did get his shit rocked.
It's fine. He just got hurted.
What do we think? Is he actually dead? Is he
No.
not
He got
dead?
Yes,
okay.
Quizzy is dead.
Is it a different Powan? Like, what do we think?
I'm gonna.
That's why it's. Wait, stop, everyone. That is why his head is not long. His head is going to be elongated.
Is he a clone?
Yeah. No, they're gonna put him in a big little machine to fix him up, but they're gonna stretch him a bit, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, your head got so much skinnier," and he's gonna be like, "Yes, it did."
He's like Violet Beauregard.
His summer surgery.
So you think I'm skinny?
Okay, but here's what I will say, and then I put this to bed.
Quizzy
He's
gets
fine.
a BBL.
I love when you get a BBL through your with a needle that goes straight.
It's a
through your
it's a
abdomen.
Brazilian brain lift.
Yeah.
No, Quizzy is fine. He just got stabbed. Also, we've seen people survive much worse in Star Wars.
Krennic survived worse, and he's
Yeah.
just a guy.
He's just
Vader
a
literally
dude.
was fucking burned to death.
Yeah.
I think the idea of Quizzy dying is so funny because they kill Quizzy, decanonize rebels, and then I snap. And I go to Lucasfilms and I start swinging. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just like eating the concrete outside because I'm like, you've decanonized Garrus of Aurelios and now I need to kill you.
No, how Christian Bale described how in his performance for American Psycho, he was like, Tom Cruise has that smile with nothing behind the eyes. Ollie just got possessed by the spirit of Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, they had this smile on where they were like, and I don't care if everybody dies. It doesn't matter to me. If they do this, that's what will happen.
Are you
Like,
trying to say that
I was a joker.
Are you trying to say that I'm Patrick Bateman coded?
In that singular moment, yeah.
Okay, I was thinking that they were more Tom Cruise coded, but okay.
That's worse. I would rather be Patrick Bateman.
Scientology member Ollie, not clickbait.
Anyways, another thing that I really liked about this, and like something that I've been worried about, was okay, how are they gonna bring up people who were important in Obi-Wan's life other than Anakin, which is Padme, Ahsoka, Satine, and Cody and the clones, who I think are all important to him. And obviously, already know we're bringing up Qui-Gon. He has already been brought up. So like everybody other than Anakin and Qui-Gon, how are we doing that? And I've been pleasantly surprised. Number one, we get to Bail saying several times, "You are one of our best friends." Talking about their friendship. I'm like, slay. And then we have with Padme, maybe this is all we're going to get with Padme, but I was so happy to see Padme mentioned and discussed as not just the mother of Luke and Leia, not just Anakin's wife or whatever, as someone where he's like, she's my dear friend. Like, this is about Obi-Wan, and this is about Obi-Wan's friends, and it's in referring to her as, this is something I've complained about also, is like, Padme's legacy is kind of erased from Star Wars after she dies, and it really always pisses me off. So to like kind of in one swoop talk about like not only her impact on him, and also people have brought up like when he was having his nightmares, it seemed like he felt like he failed both Anakin and Padme. I was like, are we having Padme respect in this Chili's? Like, if this is all we get, yeah, I'll be kind of sad, but like this is quite good. And also, is this what happens when women write Star Wars? Because I mean, there was a male writer, but Deborah Cho, also this was her baby. I'm like, Deborah Cho, I trust you with my entire life. Like, and also I know that the show was originally going to focus on his adventures with baby Luke, and then they changed it to with Leia. And I'm like, again, like a big thing I have always complained about is the fact that like we have never focused on Leia again and again and again and again for various reasons. And I'm like, and now I'm so used to, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this. Like, this is so nice.
And not only that, Leia is so she's
slaying.
The actress who plays Leia is fucking acting her ass off. And like, I've seen some people being like, oh, she's annoying. Well, first of all, she's a kid. She's going to
10.
be annoying. But also followed by like, if she was acting any other way, people would be saying that they are mischaracterizing Leia. So like, I just think that, is her name Vivian?
Yeah.
Vivian Blair or something? Vivian is putting everything into this, and it's so good.
I think what Mel said about this being like a recontextualization of Obi-Wan's life and times is really good, because like, yeah, Padme doesn't have much of a presence in Star Wars after her death. And that's also largely because like in the movies that we see these characters, like they're not really going to talk about her because she didn't exist when it was being written. So I think that this is actually like a really good place for them to talk about her as a character after her death with the characters who knew her. And I will also say this, young Leia is a spitting image of the Leia that we meet in A New Hope, which I love, because like I think she feels so like the actress, she really gets like the wit of it all down. Like she's so good at it. And I feel also like I just loved having the scenes between her and Bale and Brea. Like they actually feel like people who are a family that like we never got to see. And I really liked that. Also, speaking of Bail Organa, and speaking of Owen Lars, this episode is like the Scott Pilgrim of Star Wars. Like it's Obi-Wan and his evil exes, but they're not evil. They're just like his exes.
I have been saying Obi-Wan and the Lars family polycule for years. Yeah, and only now is it coming to fruition. And I will say, if I see any of you saying anything about Owen Lars, he was popping his pussy, you cannot come for him. Okay.
Yeah.
I am saying Owen Lars, let's take a look at him. In A New Hope, Luke is like, I want to go to the academy. What academy does Luke want to go to? Quickly, what academy is Luke trying to go to?
The Imperial Academy.
The Imperial Academy, right. So Owen is like, bitch, you are not going to that. I'm not letting you go to that. So keep that in mind. For all of you who are already Owen Lars haters, he said no. The other thing I want to say, in this episode, when he was like, I don't care about the Jedi, I don't like the Jedi, I'm just trying to protect my family. First of all, girlies, he is not just like, he's hating on Obi-Wan for no reason. He is being like, oh, you are literally an Inquisitor who is threatening to kill my family. I'll say whatever. Like, yeah, fuck the Jedi. Like, whatever. I just want to protect my literal child that I've been taking care of. And also, like, this is not like an anti-Obi-Wan thing or like, oh, why'd they do this? I think it's just an important part of context of the story. Imagine someone shows up with the child of your stepbrother who you've met once and is like, I'm leaving this baby with you. I'm going to go sit in the desert, but I'm going to keep an eye on you. I'd be probably a little off.
Also, the baby probably has powers.
Also, the baby probably has powers and people are hunting him. I would probably be extremely overprotective of that child as well. And I think that Owen being like, hey, you know, like, I don't know that much about the Jedi, considering I have been from an outer rim planet that has notoriously little Jedi presence. And again, not me being like, oh, fuck the Jedi. This is just like a general thing. The Jedi were not on Tatooine. So Owen has never had the ability to see like, oh, the good the Jedi do. So he is like, okay, no. After the Jedi fell, like there's a big thing about, oh, what are the Jedi, whatever. My life has always been kind of shitty. So I'm going to do whatever I have to protect this kid from falling to the same fate that the Jedi fell to. And I think that piece of context is really important when we talk about why Owen is acting the way he is.
I will also just say this to his defense. As an Obi-Wan enjoyer, I'm like, can you leave your ex-boyfriend alone? Like, I get that you're mad at him, but like, calm down. However, I will say this. This is not the High Republic, and I can imagine that it'd be very difficult to be like a Jedi supporter by the time of the end of the Clone War. Like realistically, what have the Jedi done for the people of the galaxy by the end of the Clone War?
Okay, so this is completely, like, both on topic and unrelated. I recently saw this TikTok by this gentleman, I forgot his name, but he brought up this great point about the way that the Clone Wars frames the Jedi in the background. Palpatine on multiple occasions is shown on Coruscant being like, basically saying, don't blame the Jedi, which is this great political tool that is like, keeping them in the public sphere as like, oh, well, they're the ones who are perpetuating this war. Like, of course you should fucking hate them. Well, not saying that, but also saying that. Love a good dog whistle. And so yeah, that is exactly, sorry, that is to your point.
No, yeah, that's my thing is like, I can imagine it would be very difficult for most people to be like huge supporters of the Jedi, especially with Ollie was saying, like the last time the Jedi were really like had a presence on Tatooine was when they were like, we want that little boy. And then they leave. Like, and
the only other time, sorry, not to interrupt. The only other time was when Anakin showed up and was like, hey, I'm your stepbrother. Also, I'm going to go kill a bunch of bitches in the desert, probably making them a lot more hostile towards you. Okay. Oh, your stepmom is dead. Bye. Never comes back. Like,
no, it's very that. And I mean, like, I'm a defender of the Jedi. I'm a defender of Obi-Wan. I have fondness for them both. But contextually, it's very hard to imagine that the common people would be like, oh, hell yeah, the Jedi. And also, Palpatine, Rupalp is strutting the runway with propaganda, like daily basis. And I think that that's something about, I think about committing a genocide, but like the thing about the structural removal of a people from society is that generally speaking, it necessitates that the majority of the people are probably on board with that. And like Mel was saying, with this whole thought of like framing the Jedi as perpetuating the war, them turning out to be traitors against you and your people and the Republic, yeah, that sells really well and really fast. I don't think that's what happened with Owen, because clearly he's not like if he hated Obi-Wan enough, he would have just been like, yeah, he's right there. Like it's him like in the corner, like he's right there. But I do think it's weird to hold people in the Star Wars universe after the Clone War to the standard of like, why don't you like the Jedi? Really?
For me, I don't even think it was even about the Jedi. I think it was actually quite personal between the two of them in that moment.
Well, because they kiss on the mouth and then they don't anymore.
So there's a conversation quite like this in the comics. In the middle of Star Wars 2015, there's this kind of journals from Ben Kenobi thing where he's like writing stories. Fun fact: if you were a listener of this podcast, and you may have heard the episode where we talked about Yoda's stupid little toes, that comes from one of the journals of Ben Kenobi, where Obi-Wan is writing down a story that Yoda told him about when Yoda was it's actually not a good comic, the one that story comes from. Anyway, so in one of the actually good comics, Owen has this conversation with him, not in the town, but like he comes to his little hut basically to confront Obi-Wan, and instead of saying like, oh, like you trained him, he says something far worse, and I was like, damn, drag his ass, where he's like, oh, something like, oh, so you can get another Skywalker killed or something like that, and I was like, holy shit, like he's popping his pussy in that comic too. But I think I thought of it as like Owen being like, you gave me a job and now you're micromanaging me. Move away. Anyway, and this is another cool thing is like we get to see the contrast between Owen and hopefully Beru parenting, and then Bail and Bria parenting, and I'm like, oh, I really like that. And also, as an aunt myself, getting to see Obi-Wan doing complete uncle culture for both Luke and Leia. I may have been screaming, crying, and throwing up, so.
Yeah, the scene where he buys Leia the little gloves, I was like, that's the uncle core. Oh, this is also to say, I think this kind of focus in on the other characters that we're seeing in this show are like both highlighting Obi-Wan's strengths, but also bringing to light some of his like flaws in this time period of this part of his life, because we see like how he's so protective of Luke, and then Bail is like, hey, my daughter did just get kidnapped, can you please go get her, please? And he's like, no, I have to protect Luke. And he's like, okay, well, fuck you, she is also just as important. And just like the general like I don't know, I really liked the way that these relationships are contrasting each other.
Yeah, something about that too. I think, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who made that line possible, of Bail being like, she's just as important as he is.
My jaw hit the floor. I was like, go off, Deborah Chow.
It was so slay. But the other thing too I really like about that, I adore about that scene, is when Bail is like, okay, it's not about Luke. Like, yes, of course your job is to protect Luke, but it's not about Luke. This is about Anakin. And Anakin is gone. You can't save him. And I think that there is something very like important to be said there, in that it's like, okay, yeah, like Obi-Wan's story being one of redemption is really interesting, and that his own, not necessarily that he is like in need of redemption. Like I think a lot of people are like, oh, whose fault was it that Anakin fell? I don't think that you can do that. I think the whole point of Anakin's story is that he was destined to fall from the moment he stepped foot in the moment he was born, honestly. Like
the duel of the fates was like the whole thing of, will he remain, what side will he remain on?
Yeah. So it's like I don't think that there's anything Obi-Wan could have done to save Anakin. But I do think that kind of framing it as Obi-Wan being like, I need to make his devotion to Luke being like, I need to make up for what I did to Anakin. And then having Bail be like, hey, dude, what happened to Anakin happened already, and there's nothing you can do to change it. So you need to focus on the world as it is. And with that reference, looking at the Obi-Wan that we see in A New Hope, I think is really neat, because that guy is a lot more like levity than this Obi-Wan. That guy is clearly, he doesn't live in just like a fucking cave in the side of the wall. Like he has built a life for himself, albeit small and separate, but he has built a life for himself. And I think that a prediction I kind of have for this show, a prediction I have is that Obi-Wan will finally be like, you're right. He finds out Anakin is alive, and then he's like, okay, there's nothing that I personally can do, and this is not my fault. So despite the fact that I was responsible for him, et cetera, and when he finally lets that go is when he is going to be able to connect with Qui-Gon and go through his training to achieve Star Wars nirvana and become a Force ghost.
Well, and I think I said when we were watching the episode, something that I loved about what Bail Organa said, where he was like, you need to let that shit go, was kind of like something I love about Padme that clearly she learned from Bail, is like, and something I love in general is when non-Force user characters are more Jedi than the Jedi themselves when they're interacting with a Jedi. And that was a very big moment of him being like, you need to let this attachment go, or this attachment to your grief, this attachment to this duty that you think you have to Luke, because it's not to Luke, it's to Anakin. Let's be honest. You see Anakin when you see him. I was like, damn, is your name Cantum Psy? Because you just... Bail Organa, I am obsessed with Bail Organa. I love him so much. And I love moments like that where, and I believe there are moments in comics and stuff where like when Jedi have to learn something about being a Jedi or be reminded of that from a non-Force user. I love that stuff. Also, you know what's funny to me? There's 2 kids, and Obi-Wan is now having to like bus back and forth to help take care of both of them. Yeah, and so Obi-Wan has to take care of and watch over both of the kids and get a fucking job and live by himself in the desert. Yet Yoda gets to go in retirement and sit in a swamp. Why isn't Yoda like in a swamp on Alderaan looking over Leia?
To be fair, that what I will say on Yoda's behalf, you see an old crusty man taking care of a child, that's one thing. You see a little green devil taking care of a child, you're probably gonna, if someone was like, have you seen a little green bitch running around, like it's probably gonna be a bit more noticeable. Like Yoda was like,
he could be hiding unless something really bad happens. Like,
he's too busy making money on feetfinder.com.
I'm just saying, like, Obi-Wan is going absolutely motherfucking through it, and he has to do everything that's got in him. And this is kind of a thing about Obi-Wan's character in general, is that, like, he was, like, 19, and Qui-Gon was like, hey, can you take care of this kid? And he was like, huh? And then, like, the rest of his life was fucked up from then.
He's like, can you become a 25-year-old dad? And he said,
huh? He was like, what? Like, and it keeps happening to him, and, like, now they're like, hey, can you go, like, help this kid? And he's like, when did I ever ask to be a parent? When? And it's just quite funny to me. Anyway, like, if I was Obi-Wan, I would have so much resentment towards, like, Yoda and whatever, to be like, can you stop? Stop.
I know that Yoda in the High Republic is great with kids. I am not of the belief that Yoda in the Clone Wars is fit to be a guardian of a young child anymore.
I don't think he wants to. He looked tired.
That little guy's exhausted.
If any of you have read the High Republic Bake Off, which is the best piece of Star Wars media ever made, Yoda had been wanting to go to that like Jedi senior home for so long, and they were like, can you keep doing stuff? And he's like, no, can I please?
I constantly think about how in Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan does refer to Coruscant as the old folks' home.
Yeah.
When does he do that?
So when he is trying to send a message back from Camino of like what's going on, he's like, send the message to the old folks' home.
Are you fucking with
I'm not joke. That's not a joke.
How do I not remember this?
How do I not remember this?
So,
I also don't remember this.
am I making this up?
Are we being gaslit?
Are you Mandela effecting?
I swear this happened.
Mel is fucking with us.
I'm not. I thought
No, that is
happened.
not the face. That is not the face of liar.
Mel, somebody bring up the script of Attack of the Clones right now.
I have it. Hang on.
Anyways,
Hang on, I found
First
the
of all, he does call it. It's the code name for the code name for the Coruscant Temple is the old folks' home.
Yeah, the exact line is he says, scramble code 5 to Coruscant, care of the old folks' home. He does say that. He says it to Camino to his little R5 droid.
Oh, okay. Mel, I really thought you were fucking with us.
why would I lie about that?
Because
I don't know.
You enter your Joker era.
I didn't think you were lying. I was just deeply, deeply, deeply confused. It was like, why would he say that? But he did. Anyway, yeah, there were some other slays in this episode. Notably, one of them was not that little effective Jedi guy in the desert being like, help me. And everyone was like, no. And then he died.
That was a bit that was not very slay on Obi-Wan. In fact,
that was not very pussy of him.
From a certain point of view, it was a little too slay.
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair, he could have gone up to him and been like, my guy, I am in hiding, and the two of us being close to each other would have been real bad. Like,
well, to be
I
fair,
would
the
very much
Jedi
like
in
to help you.
question, the Jedi in question did come up with like a bullhorn, and they were like, hey, I'm a Jedi, and I need to fight. I heard you were Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's like, you're gonna get me fucking murdered.
Unfortunately, that is Ezra Bridger core.
So true.
No, I was like, Obi-Wan is like, with that Jedi, it's like when my my parents would like take me to a restaurant when I was a kid, and they would be like, you're this age, so that you are under the under the kids meal limit, and then I would be like, what age am I? Like really loud. And my mom's like, God fucking damn it.
No, it's very that, but yeah, no, that happened. I will also say, I'm trying to remember the order of events in this episode, but I really can't. Fucking Leia, kid Leia read her cousin for filth. Like he was left on the floor bleeding to death.
I mean, and we know that a part of it is that like she is force sensitive, but also like she gets it
I
from
just
her
think
mom.
she's just like that. Like she's living with the Organas, and she has Padme Amidala's blood in her.
Yeah, and I love the part that was like Bria being like, can you deal with your daughter? And Bale is definitely having one of those dad moments of like, okay, but she kind of like, I don't want to tell her off because like she was kind of right, but now I have to like be a parent and be like, don't be an asshole. But like she was kind of right. And I love that. It was very realistic. I did love when her cousin was like, why are you white?
I mean, I don't know. My thing that I liked about her and Bale's relationship is that I felt like it was very typical of like father and daughter moments. And I don't know. Here's what I would say. I really believed that they like were father and daughter in those scenes. I was like, y'all have like the perfect amount of interaction to make me be like, oh, I love that. Like it was very slay. I will say, Leia getting kidnapped by 3 random dudes was hilarious because
and
I was like,
from the
who the
Red Hot
fuck
Chili
are these
Peppers.
people?
You will put some respect on Flea's name, okay?
I was gonna say it, but like
The rat tail was a lot.
And you know what? Now because it was on Flea, it was slay.
Okay, but like Thundercat in the Book of Boba Fett and then Flea in this, I'm like, I said this on TikTok, but I was like, okay, so when do I get to see Bad Bunny in Andor? Like,
so true. I was gonna suggest Florence Welsh of Florence and the Machine.
So true.
She's gonna be in the Ahsoka series.
Guys, they're accumulating bassists. Guys, it's bassists. Who is like, keep an eye out. If your like uncle's a bassist or something, he may appear in Star Wars. Be careful.
Okay, another thing that I thought was very funny was this. It's like, I'm really looking forward to finding out, how does Reva know that Vader is Anakin? Because at this point, the only people who know, other than Anakin himself, that Anakin is Vader are Palpatine, Tarkin, and Thrawn.
Okay, and I actually know how this happened. So they have a Slack group chat. Okay.
No, they have a
Tarkin,
WhatsApp.
yeah, Tarkin, Palpatine, and Vader have a WhatsApp group chat just for planning purposes. And one time Palpatine jokingly was like, LOL, little orphan Annie. And then he actually texted that directly to Reva instead, because there's also an Inquisitor group chat and he missed it by like this much. And then she was like, what? He was like, you can't tell anyone. He'll never forgive me if he finds out that I told you. Okay, it'll be our little secret. But now, because of who she is, she's on Twitter going like, you guys will never believe what I know about Lord Vader.
OMF. He's Anakin Skywalker.
No, literally, she was getting brought into Inquisitor HR, and they're like, hey, so like we don't know what this tweet is about. Like nobody here that works here knows. Like,
What is
you
the
can't
social
be
media
saying that
policy
shit.
for Inquisitors? Quickly.
I don't think they're allowed to have it.
I think Fifth Brother is posting whole on his Twitter.
Fifth Brother has an OnlyFans.
I have a theory.
I would love to know.
So my theory is that I have two theories. One is that Reva saw him during Order 66 at the temple and was like, bitch, what the fuck? And then saw Vader again and was like, you are the same bitch. My other thought is that Reva, because here's the thing. We know that Darth Vader trained some of the Inquisitors himself.
All of them.
But I think not all of them, but a lot of them. So what I think could be possible is Reva sees Anakin during Order 66 at the temple, right? She gets brought in as an Inquisitor. She gets trained by Darth Vader, and as Darth Vader is training her, she's like, I have seen this shit before, and is like, hey, just like quick question. Are you? Then he gets mad at her because he's like, don't say that. That's not who I am anymore. And he's like, you're done. I'm not talking to you because you said that shit. That's not who I am. She's like, cool. So now in order to get favor with Lord Vader again, I'm going to capture Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I could see that. I could also see it panning out in a couple of different ways. Option A, that. Option B, because another part of the Inquisitors is that they're constantly being pitted against one another, is that Palpatine did give her this information, but no one else believes her. And she's like, okay, well, fuck you guys. I'm gonna fucking prove it. If I bring his little bestie, shit will happen.
It's the WhatsApp group chat theory. It's exactly that.
It's the WhatsApp group chat theory, and or the saddest one. Andor. Yeah, Cassian Andor told her. That's actually Andor season 1. Anyways, the third and saddest option, I think, is that while training her, Vader is reminded of Ahsoka and just like her steadfastness and like her like her ethic. Me. And so he's like, hey guys, it's me, Anakin. Don't tell anyone.
I like the theory of like they like to pit them against each other, whatever. And Palpatine loves to play little mind games, so I could see him like purposely leaving out the information where she can find it and being like, and he's like,
he CC'd her on an email.
He BCC'd her on an email, and everyone
blind copy. Yeah,
an accident. She thinks it's an accident, but it's not. And he's like, I wonder how she found that one out. Because, okay, so I've read a lot of the Vader comics, and like basically the way that Vader finds out about the Inquisitorius, and then Palpatine has this other project as well where he's like training some Force users to like basically replace Vader if Vader ever dies or whatever. He's always trying to like, and with the Inquisitors, he's like, hey, so I was making this whole Inquisitorius and you have to manage it, have fun. So he's always like doing little things to like piss off Anakin, and Anakin always feels like Vader, it feels like he's always going to get replaced. That's why he also doesn't like the Death Star, because he feels like he's getting replaced. I just think it would be very on brand for him to be like, what if I spice it up a little bit? I gotta keep them all on their toes.
Okay. So hear me out on this. You know how on RuPaul's Pod Race, the Drag Race show, popular one, they have like guest judges, but like RuPaul will introduce them like a little joke, like the hilarious Ross Matthews. Yeah, okay, I've seen it. There, I invented this. However, What if during one of his little zippy one-liners, he just makes a joke about Anakin Skywalker and Vader's on camera like, I don't know who that is.
That's kind of what he does in the Thrawn novel. In front of Thrawn. Like, he does it with Thrawn and Vader's just like, are you fucking joking? And he makes a little funny, like, Thrawn's
it's
like,
a reveal.
oh.
It's a reveal. And Reva is there. And Reva is on the main stage and she's like, did anyone else catch that? Like, did anyone else? I'm just saying. Revealed to her in secret, perhaps. Or, okay, you know how on All Stars they have the little tubes of lipstick to decide who to eliminate? Okay. So she opened up this box and it's like Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. And she's like, in my hand, I have one lipstick. And this is the person who's committed so hard to art. Like, she's like eliminating Darth Vader from Drag Race. And then she flips it and it says Anakin Skywalker. She's like, that's not what I picked. And Palpatine's like, yeah. And then Vader has to leave the main stage because he's been eliminated from RuPaul's Pod Race. And he's like, well, let the music play.
Which of the Inquisitors do you think would win in a lip sync for their life?
Quizzy. You're telling me every day of his life is not a performance?
Trilla.
Not the kind that win a competition. I will say this. I think Fifth Brother. I think Fifth Brother could actually possibly slay.
I will say this,
sister. Though. I agree so completely.
She's the one who's played by Sarah Michelle Gellar in the first couple seasons of...
No, Ninth Sister
is Masonatide.
She's the Doatin from Fallen Order.
Oh, okay. Who's the one who is with Fifth Brother in Rebels?
Seventh Sister.
Seventh Sister.
I feel like she would dominate. I feel like
but then she'd say something just like a little bit too out of pocket, and it would be like, oh.
I do think she also. I think she wouldn't know the words to the song. Like her dance moves would be great, but you notice her covering her mouth a lot while she's doing it. I will say this: I know definitively that Trilla Seduri would clear Inquisitor Drag Race.
Absolutely,
like she would ruin their lives.
What else do you want to discuss?
I liked a lot of episode 2. Like I mentioned earlier, I loved all the sequences on the planet. I loved that Obi-Wan's solution to getting out of his little tussle with the robbers was to drug them. I found that quite funny.
We gotta cook Obi-Wan.
Not only that, okay, sorry, this is completely unrelated. I'm so sorry to bring us on another tangent. However, that scene where he throws the fucking glitter stem on the ground, I was like, so true. That Obi-Wan is Lorna D coded, I fear.
He is! I love that. I think also Obi-Wan, the way that I was like, Mr. Kenobi, bitch, this is not going well.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, where's Jessie?
Wait, no, okay, Jessie is Leia.
No! Leia, we gotta cook.
Is that not what he says?
Leia, we've got to cook.
I would just say this. I did not have Obi-Wan goes through a meth lab on my bucket list for this show, and yet here we are.
No, because as soon as he walked in, I was like, is he in a meth lab? And then he kept walking. I was like, oh, he literally is in a meth lab.
Also,
slay.
I love there were a couple of parallels with Din Djarin. In that one scene when he's like having a fight with the little guys, it's kind of like when Din Djarin kind of got his shit rocked. It's kind of
like whenever there's been a fight in this enclosed area.
No,
it's a lot like the hallway scene from Daredevil when you think about it.
No, because in the hallway scenes in Daredevil is slaying. Like he's kind of rusty, and it's kind of like
this is a lot like Netflix's The Defenders if you think about
it.
No,
I know.
Away. I was saying like when Din is trying to use the Darksaber and he's like not doing so hot in that scene in the Book of Boba Fett when he's kind of not slaying, it was kind of like that because they were trying to show like Obi-Wan can throw hands, but he's rusty. But I thought it was also funny that they both take public transit from Tatooine, and it's quite funny to me that, in a not pre-Empire, but in the Empire era, Obi-Wan can just get on there. There's no TSA, there's whatever. In a post-Empire world, Din Djarin has to go to the TSA. He's got to take off his shoes. He has to take off everything. Like, it's
who in Star Wars has TSA pre-check?
Obi-Wan Kenobi, apparently.
And Devo.
I feel that Craig Dooku would have had TSA pre-check.
He created TSA pre-check in the Separatists.
Are you? No. He
does the interview.
Are you serious right now?
Are you saying that Craig Dooku was responsible for TSA?
Absolutely.
Did Craig Dooku form the TSA?
No.
Yeah, he did the Patriot Act.
No.
Bushification of Craig Dooku?
Who is throwing their shoe? Who is throwing their shoe at Craig Dooku?
We can't keep doing this.
Canonically,
Guys,
unfortunately, canonically, it is
Frank Dooku
Anakin.
present? Is Frank Dooku George W. Bush coded?
Okay, but like,
No. Please, no, don't do Christopher Lee like that. Christopher Lee, I'm so sorry, girl. No, but I would just say this on the note of Obi-Wan being a little bit out of practice. I liked that he wasn't that good at using the Force. I also like that he was like, I'm actually not going to take Reva in a straight fight because presently I might lose actually like super hard.
somebody noticed that was a really cool like detail also was that he punches the Zabrak and then he's bleeding because like Zabrak's have fucking horns.
It was really giving when he tried to kick Grievous and then was like, oh, my little shin hurted. I'm just listen, it's a lot like Call Me Jess. I have to bring him up. Cody could have done it. Cody would have been fine.
Absolutely.
Cody kicked punched the shit out of some battle droids and was fine. Cody could have kicked a Zabrak in the head and he would have been fine.
He was thinking about Cody in that moment and he was like, I'm not as good as Cody
to be fair,
at this.
to be fair, he was already thinking about Cody because he did see that clone veteran gentleman.
Oh boy.
You know what? It's so funny. I was so sad. Beep, 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 beep. It's me, the spirit of Jess. I'm here to do Clone Watch. We did it, guys. Congrats, everyone. We did it. Happy Clone Watch. We had Tem as a clone from the 501st. Let's go. Yeah, it's quite sad. So I did not even think about the fact that he might be like, I was like, oh, he's shaken, but I got so invested in seeing clone that I completely forgot that that's what Obi-Wan was probably in his mind. I completely blacked that out. So you've just made me very sad.
Well, because also there was a tweet, and I can't remember who it was. I mean, I've seen it from a couple of different accounts actually. That, like the last time that he saw a clone, canonically, was when Cody handed him his lightsaber and then shot him off a cliff. So this is not like I'm just saying he was probably immediately brought back there and been like, I miss my husband. Like and here's my thing. I have not thought about Commander Cody in a hot second, like, because I have not. However, seeing Tem as a clone, I was like, please.
For the first time since Cody.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, also, I find it interesting because we don't get to see a whole lot of like random clone. Like we see characters that we know after the war, but I was like, okay, can someone help this little gentleman? Like, can someone please give him money?
Well, I mean, that was somebody was talking about like, oh my God, we see a homeless clone, whatever. And like, I was like, yeah, breaking news. Star Wars has always been a commentary on the military industrial complex, and the clones especially have been one about like how we treat veterans and use them as our pawns and then throw them away. I mean, that is something that is kind of essentially going to be a big part of the Bad Batch, but now we are seeing it 10 years later, and he is a clone who is still alive. So I'm like, yeah, huge news. And again, this is something that I really like about the show is that like we are deeply rooted in Star Wars. We are not like ignoring random things. We just have all this stuff. And you know, this one's for the Clone Wars stands, but also it makes sense. It's just a thing that makes sense. It's not like, ooh, and this is what I always think of when people are like, oh, like I hate cameos or whatever. I'm like, no, like this makes sense. This is a thing that we should be covering is if there are clones out there, Obi-Wan, what happens if Obi-Wan encounters one? And also, you know, now of course I'm like, oh, I hope we see more clones, or at least we have a reference to them, whether it's a flashback or a vision or whatever. I hope we do. I hope this is not our one little this one's for you guys and that's it. But I do fear that is it, and then I will be very sad. But him being from the 501st, especially because this is about his relationship with Anakin, is I was not well.
Yeah. I will say, honestly, I went in being like, well, whatever happens, happens. I was honestly not expecting to see that many clones or any clones because I don't have, unfortunately, I don't want to say I don't have faith in Star Wars because that's not what I mean. But I think Claudia said it earlier, is that it's like you go in with low expectations. So even seeing a clone, I was like, wow, this is so exciting. I would like to thank the Academy. Another thing I want to touch on, this is just following up on what Claudia said, is that I think that we as a fandom sometimes need to remember what a cameo actually is. Because a cameo is when it's like, oh, haha, look, we just saw that person standing on the side of the road. Like a cameo is Stan Lee in Marvel movies being like, oh, Stan Lee was standing on the side of the road and had a throwaway line.
There was an actual cameo in one of these episodes. The pink haired they them who walked up and tried to give Obi-Wan drugs. That was his actual daughter.
Ewan McGregor's daughter. Yeah.
Ewan McGregor's actual daughter.
That's a cameo. what isn't a cameo is a character who shows up and is important to the plot. Like Hera in the Bad Batch was not a cameo. Like seeing a clone here is setting the scene. It is not just like a cameo. And I think that we need to just recontextualize that, because we use the word a lot. Because like we're not being like, oh, Bail Organa is a cameo here. Like that is not correct.
I think the ideal distinction to me, and I'm glad you brought up like Marvel and Stan Lee, is that a cameo is like explicitly for the audience and not for the characters.
Yeah.
And like a character that lives in the universe showing up is not a cameo. I will say that there are times where I'm like, okay, they don't matter here. Like I don't know what they're doing in this story, but like the characters that I feel are going to show up around Obi-Wan, outside of who we've already seen, are important to the narrative that they're telling about him.
One critique that I know some of us had of this episode, and something we do want to talk just a little bit about, is Reva's characterization. I think that there is something to be said about how like, oh, it's cool to see a woman and a Black woman be in this position and as a main character and making moves like she is. But there is something to be said about having your first major Black female character being framed, at least in these first two episodes, as extremely aggressive and constantly talked down to by everyone around her. And I think one question I have a lot about that is like, how intentional is that? Because I feel like the conversation that she has with the Grand Inquisitor, where he's like, you are nothing, because we don't have context that we might get later, it really does feel like he's just being violently racist, which may be the point. It may be that it's trying to make a commentary, but it's really jarring and it's really hard to see because it's Star Wars and we don't have conventional racism like that. So I think that is, it's kind of challenging if you put, like, it's hard to divorce the stereotypes and the harmful tropes that we have from this piece of media.
Yeah. And I think to that same exact point, also, we do know that the Inquisitors are pitted against one another, and so that kind of language is the types of things to break down a person, right? To tell them that they are nothing. That is not justifying it and saying, oh, well, it's fine that happened, because it still did feel not great. But yeah, to also your point earlier, there is something to say of, I feel like we have this desire often to like, not sanitize Black women, but to put them on a pedestal and like hold them to a higher standard of like, no, they need to be doing good. They need to be the like moral center. It's okay for Reva to be bad and to be a baddie. However, there's a line to skirt of like, okay, how much of this is also playing into just like tired narratives about angry Black women?
Yeah, I think actually I think a good example of the like the middle ground there is Trilla, who is Afro-Latina and is a Black woman, is fun and evil and like gets to be all those things, but the narrative in Fallen Order never portrays her as hyper aggressive or as overly angry or any of the things that we've already seen be associated with Third Sister. And like Ollie was saying, we can't really know yet per se, because before a story is complete, before we have all the context, it's difficult to say what it is. I think for me, I just like, it felt bad. Like it felt bad to watch. And obviously this is a podcast where we support and believe in the rights of evil women because we enjoy them very, very deeply. And I think that it's important that she get to be that. I guess I just didn't like the way that it felt to watch. I was just like, ugh, I don't love that.
Yeah, I hope the way that it is fixed is, you know, number one, we show her backstory and that she is justified in her being just, I gotta get his ass. And that everyone around her kind of shitting on her for that they're a piece of shit for saying that. Like, I'm hoping that the narrative supports that and that it's not the way that we have seen it just on the surface. And then also I hope that we get like, not her winning. Obviously, she's not going to win because Obi-Wan is going to live. But like her impressing, like Vader is like that. Vader is impulsive. Just Vader is like that and doesn't have any control and whatever. And I hope that we get the like Vader gives her a promotion because he values her in her job for that's not a bad thing or whatever. Vader's like, I approve of women's wrongs.
No, because the idea that Reva doesn't die in the Kenobi series, she just gets hired. She just gets to go up to middle management. Like, she just becomes like a Moff. Like, he's like, no, you're good, actually. You don't need to get out of the
That'd be
Inquisitor
very
grind.
actually.
Get out of the Inquisitor grind.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you Tatooine. Be in charge there for a while.
Oh my god. Okay, no.
That is like.
Because here's the thing. No, he pulls her to a meeting and he's like, hey, I noticed that you've been doing really, really well recently. And I just want to let you know that in a couple weeks here, I'm going to imprison the Grand Inquisitor in a fate worse than death. And I'm just saying that if you maybe want to hop out of the game now, maybe go up to Moff, get a more comfortable position, you can keep the lightsaber. That's fine by me. I just, it's got way better benefits. I mean, you get a throne. And she's like, okay.
You get dental.
Yeah. Do the Inquisitors have health insurance?
No. They markedly
Quizzy.
So they actually markedly do have health care because part of the Inquisitor process is maiming them in some way. Canonically, like there's a bitch who gets like her hand cut off, and Vader's like, hee. Okay, anyways, you're Inquisitor now. But I don't think they have dental.
No, okay, she gets dental, and also Vader's like, you also get, and this is between you and me, you get way more PTO. Like, you can take a vacation.
They get unlimited.
She's like, you sold me at dental.
Wait, the Inquisitors, they have unlimited PTO, but they have the problem of that, like, you're pressured to never take it. You know what I mean? But I was gonna say that, like, when you made that joke earlier about the Inquisitor being imprisoned in a fate worse than death, for those of you who have not read the comics, that reference is that, so the Inquisitor at the end of Rebels season 1, he falls and dies in a passion into a fire. But if you read the comics, I believe it's Star Wars 2020, or I'm sorry, Darth Vader 2020, we find that he has been resurrected in some way as this, like, burned, he's not a force ghost, but he's alive.
Horrible visage of Quizzy.
Yeah, basically, Vader used the force to, like, suspend him.
I'm sorry, a quizzage, if you will?
A quizzage, yes. Like, basically suspend him infinitely as an infinitely burning mirage in, like, an old Jedi temple to use as a trap. So in Rebels, we have, it's very similar to how they used Luminara's remains to
rotted corpse.
Yeah, they use her remains to make a ghost in order to fake a ghost in order for as a trap for the Jedi. They do the same with Quizzy, and they hold him in suspended animation, burning to death forever in a former High Republic reference, former High Republic Jedi temple, and actually Luke meets Quizzy in the comics because he is lured there because he is searching for information about the Jedi, and he learns about a High Republic temple, and he goes there, and Quizzy is just there fucking burning to death.
Quizzy's like, well, I hate Mondays.
Literally. And it is.
He's like, damn, I'm not getting any of my PTO.
He's like, it's fucking crazy. It is crazy thinking about that while it is just funny to me where he's like, Reva, you suck, whatever. And I'm like, honey, you got a big storm coming.
I also like them being like, oh my God, Reva, you're so aggressive. And then they're like, also Quizzy is like, I'm going to torture. Like literally like less than a year from now, I'm gonna go torture.
Well, it might be kind of like Thrawn, where like something happens where he just kind of becomes unhinged after that. Like,
where's the Quizzy ascendancy?
The Quizzendency.
It's Utapau.
No, they don't want him there.
Utapau rising.
Anyways, we were talking about Reva.
They don't claim him.
It could either go really, really badly or really well, and I am hoping that I can trust Deborah Cho. And obviously when they introduced this character, because we know what happens to Trilla, because we know what happens to most of the Inquisitors, I did have fear in my heart that I was like, I do fear that her story is going to be much like Ventress. This is why also Reva has become one of my favorite characters, because she is acting and moving a lot like Ventress. And I do fear that she's going to have a moment of redemption and then die in a passion.
She's gonna meet Quinlan Voss.
No, Quinlan, get away! That little girl is a child.
They're not gonna date. He's just gonna be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Sorry,
And she's
I was
gonna be
still
like,
I was still thinking about Venture's parallels, and my brain was
no.
like, no.
"No, she's not gonna get a terrible pixie cut either." Don't do that to Reva.
Yeah. So so when she was first introduced, I was like, oh, I really hope that we don't kill this character and she doesn't die in a passion on screen just because she is an Inquisitor. That would suck ass. It would be really cool if at Star Wars Celebration they just announced that there's going to be a sequel to Fallen Order, and it would be really cool if like she's alive and then she's in the sequel to Fallen Order. That would be cool and be neat.
Let's franchise Reva.
No, literally, I think that's the other good part about this is that like I'm living as like a Star Wars fan and just like that this is fun and cool, but also like I have a new Glup Shido. Like, she's my everything.
To be fair, I don't think she's really a Glup Shido. She is a main character of one of the biggest TV shows.
None of the other
You're gonna tell me
Inquisitors
You're gonna tell me that she is she is in the same category as Master Churf Mauta. You're gonna tell me that they are both Glup Shidos on the same level.
Don't bring Churf into this.
Churf Mauta, I'm so sorry.
This is also all to say, it is very interesting. Something is going to happen with her vis-a-vis her defection from the Inquisitorius because we know her first name. That is something we don't know of literally. Well, actually, that's not true. We know Trilla and we know Masana Tide, but that is because like we knew things about like their past, I guess. But like,
well, and also at the end, Trilla does decide to leave.
Yeah.
She just
But like we don't know most of the Inquisitors' names. Like for all we know, Quizzy's real name could be Todd.
Just like Craig Dooku.
Just like Craig Dooku. Todd and Craig, besties at large.
Okay, also concept. Quizzy's name is not, his name is first name Grand, last name Inquisitor. And then Darth Vader was like, that sounds cool as fuck. We should name our little guys who hunt Force people after you.
Hey, Grand, could you do this for me?
Master Grand, can we chat? Can we talk one-on-one?
Also, I just want to give more Inquizzy fun facts from the comics. The canonical reason that Quizzy goes to the dark side is literally because Joe Castanew will not let him in certain parts of the library. That's it. That is literally the only reason.
Quizzy is like hashtag I read banned books.
No, literally. Quizzy is like, I want to read about weird shit in the Force. And Joe Castanew is like, we keep certain things because this is an archive and it's important to like do things historically, but there are some things that like not everybody should fucking know about. And no, you as some random Jedi Knight, you should not have access to this deep ass Sith lore. Fucking no, like there are things, whatever. And he's like, I mean, and again, it's supposed to be a metaphor for like, you know, you shouldn't like want to possess things, and like it's always about like wanting something that you can't have and not being able to let go, and that's why you go to the dark side or whatever. But then in the comic, he has a fucking duel with Joe Castanew over books. It's so funny. So when do we get to see him sing "Having Fun Isn't Hard When You Got a Library Card" in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series?
So true. I like the Arthurification of Quizzy. Actually, no, I think Arthur is his first name.
That makes Joe Castanew Mr. Ratbird.
Okay. First of all, I don't remember Mr. Ratburn and Arthur having a fight. I don't remember them happening.
They have a
then you aren't a true fan. So.
In the
you
finale,
think I'm not a true fan? I knew George and Buster were gay when I was a child, and you're going to tell me I'm not a real fan?
In the finale, there's a trial by combat. In the Arthur finale, there's a trial by combat where Mr. Ratburn does not survive. He does die. They do fridge their gay kids.
Not bury your gays, Mr. Ratburn. And now we are unfreezing Jess from the carbonite that we have them trapped in, so they can share their thoughts on these 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay, hi. I did not write down any thoughts. I'm just going off vibes. But it's me, Jess, from the past, because, oh wow, it's midnight now. It is now May 27th. If the Obi-Wan show hadn't been released early, it would be Obi-Wan time. But it did release early. It released at 9 p.m. Pacific time. So we already saw the episode, and now I'm recording my thoughts for this episode. I liked it a lot. I'm very glad that they decided to release both episode 1 and episode 2 on the same day. I don't know if the others have touched on this already, because, I don't know what they're gonna say. I'm glad that they released both episodes, because like I do like the pacing of this, but like if I had to like wait between after seeing episode 1 and then waiting a week to see episode 2, that would have been like a lot, because I'd be like, oh no, Leia. Who knows what kind of crazy ideas I would have come up with. I'm very much enjoying it so far. I did go into the show having no expectations because I didn't want to get my hopes up about anything. Except for Cody, I can never let go of wanting to see Cody. Like, even if I say I don't care, like deeply inside, I'm like, I hope Cody's here. But anyway, we're not talking about that right now. We'll get to that in a bit. But these first 2 episodes, I feel like were very good. I like how it's setting up, like, oh, look at Obi-Wan's sad depression era, which is a mood. You know, he's living on Tatooine. It doesn't seem like he's currently connected with the Force, or maybe he's kind of like Cal Kestis in like Jedi Fallen Order, or maybe he's like disconnected from the Force because of all the like bad stuff that happened, which is fair. Like, that's some traumatic stuff. You had to, like, your whole people got massacred. Well, not all of them, because the Inquisitors are hunting down Jedi, but then you also had to watch your one friend like give birth and then die of sadness, and then your other friend who was like a brother to you thought you killed him. That's messed up. So I also would be depressed if I was Obi-Wan. I like this gay little poncho moment. We love Star Wars and gay little poncho moments. I liked his little camel friend. I forget what kind of animal that is. A yuppie? I don't know how to pronounce that word, but that was a fun thing. I liked when Owen was roasting Obi-Wan, which was like rightfully so, because he is Anakin's stepbrother, and like probably Shmi like spent a lot of time talking about like how great her little son was for being a Jedi, and he's just like, oh cool, and then like suddenly you find out this other guy like killed, or is the reason why your cool stepbrother got killed. Well, like, quote unquote killed, because they don't know Anakin's alive. You got my stepbrother killed. I'm not letting you bring that same fate to this child that I'm supposed to be taking care of. So I think Owen Lars is justified in his roasting of Obi-Wan Kenobi. What else was I going to talk about? The Inquisitors? Yeah. I'm worried about like what they're doing with Reva's character. I didn't really like that, like, the one black woman character is like being portrayed as very like aggressive and mean, but I don't know. But I am like curious about why she is the way she is, and like why she's so obsessed with trying to find Obi-Wan. I mean, I guess they all are. There's a lot of things that confuse me about this, because I assume that they all thought Obi-Wan was dead, but because like by the like Rebels time, it seems like they all are like, oh yeah, Obi-Wan's dead, so maybe we see Obi-Wan fake his death at the end of this, so like that gets the Inquisitors off his back, because like right now it does seem like they're like being like, where's Obi-Wan? I was really hoping that they would have the helicopter saber moment. Like, that was the one thing I really wanted to see. They did not helicopter saber. There was many opportunities where they could have like, helicoptered around with the little lightsabers, but nothing yet. There's still 4 episodes though, so I'm holding out on the hope of that. Because we did see it spinning. Quizzy killed a guy, and it was spinning. Now we just need to see them fly around. I also was really excited about Brea and Bale and little baby Leia. And I'm really excited that they're bringing back, one of my favorite Star Wars things of like, well, it's not just Star Wars, but like gruff, depressed man is softened by the love of a child. So that's fun. And also, let's give it up for like the sequels fans, because freaking Obi-Wan, everyone always complaining about like Rey burying the lightsabers at the end of Rise of Skywalker on Tatooine in the sand. But you know what Obi-Wan did? He buried his lightsaber also out there in the middle of the desert in the sand. Icon, king. I was also very confused, because I was just like, how did you remember where you buried this? This is in the middle of like nowhere. Did you save the exact coordinates? Like when you play Minecraft and you have to have the coordinates. Like when I get lost and I'm like, where are the coordinates for base? my gamer friends will understand what I'm talking about if you've played Minecraft. Also, let's bring up another obscure gaming reference. Minecraft isn't even obscure, what am I saying? But another gaming reference, this is obscure gaming reference actually, is I loved Obi-Wan living his Hatoful boyfriend life. Hatoful boyfriend era Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I say this because in the game Hatoful boyfriend, the main character that you are playing as, the MC, she is a human who lives in a cave. The birds all live in houses, but she lives in a cave. And you know, Obi-Wan is also living in a cave. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Hatoful boyfriend era. Did I talk about, like, when I saw Tem and I cried? I did cry. Like, I teared up and, like, started, like, maniacally laughing. No, that's not the right word, right? Because I was happy and sad. And I was just like, that's Temuera Morrison, where's Cody? Which, will now bring me to Cody Watch. Cody was not there. But, like, seeing my reaction of, like, tearing up of just seeing Temuera Morrison asking for, like, credits on the street as a sad little veteran clone gives me hope that maybe they'll let him be other clones. Maybe Cody will show up. I should not have such high expectations, but I'm hoping. I'm also very excited to see where this series goes. Again, I'm trying not to, like, make too many predictions. I'm just trying to go with the flow, go with the vibes, just vibing here. And, yeah, that's it. Those are my thoughts. Bye.
And now we are putting Jess back into the carbonite until next week's episode.
Welcome to Name That Ship. This is a fan favorite segment of ours, wherein we have searched the dark trenches of AO3 for some of the, frankly, wildest, funniest, and sometimes disturbing fan fiction and ships that lay in the AO3 Star Wars tag. You can submit fics that you have stumbled across, or perhaps have even written to us in the submission form in the show notes. This week I will be starting off, and I have a submission from Salamalama 1 on TikTok. They gave me one note, and it was just honestly, something about this is so powerful. I mean, here's the thing. There are 3 ships in this, one of which I have no idea who either of the characters are.
Slay.
One of the polycules, I'm like, okay. Okay, slay. And then the other one, the ship is just, it took me the fuck out. So, are you all ready? I'm just gonna have you guess the 2 ships that, like, have characters that I am aware of. The other one I do believe is maybe Boba Fett's not Boba Fett, Jango Fett's mom, ? A character named Arla Fett. I don't know what her deal is.
Don't know who that is.
Yeah. Anyways, relationships are character A, character B, other character and Mace Windu, Safi not / Arla Fett, character C, character D, character E, like all /, Arla Fett and Dal Mev. Additional tags: queer themes, queer platonic relationships, hurt / comfort, non-sexual intimacy, nudity, bathing and washing, Jedi is found family, master and Padawan relationships, trauma, established relationship, non-binary character, asexuality spectrum, asexual character, polyamory, honeymoon, bisexuality, trans female character, pining, relationship advice. This is from a fic called Queer Week 2022. Yeah, once again, I don't think it's, like, particularly cursed, but there's just, like, the ship, the first ship just totally took me the fuck out. I was like, whoa.
Okay, so are these prequels characters, original trilogy, sequel trilogy?
I would say the prequel era, yes.
So they're Clone Wars? Do they appear in the Clone Wars more than the prequels?
I think, yes. 2 of the characters have only appeared, well, their first appearance was in the Clone Wars.
Okay, are they... Okay, so the first
Is one Ahsoka Tano?
No.
Is one Rex?
Yes. Rex is in the polycule.
Slay! Good for
Are there
him.
any other clones?
No.
Okay, so Rex is the only clone. What about Jedi?
There are 2 Jedi. They're not in a relationship together though.
Okay, are these Jedi like characters that we associate with Rex, or are they just kind of there?
One of them is.
Is it
Anakin?
Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Anakin is in the polycule with Rex.
Is it Padme?
Okay.
Yes. So the polycule is Padme, Anakin, and Rex.
Okay, slay.
Okay, that's very slay.
Okay, so the other ship is character A, character B. One of them is a Jedi?
Yes.
Is one Obi-Wan Kenobi?
No.
Is one Mace Windu?
No.
Quinlan Voss.
No.
We can't
No.
just guess Jedi.
Kit
We need to.
Fisto.
No.
Claudia, stop.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
No.
We have to ask questions. Is this Jedi on the council?
I don't believe so.
Is this Jedi a man?
No.
Ooh.
Shakti.
No.
She's on the council. Come on,
Oh,
Claudia.
fuck, I forgot.
Fake
Sorry.
fan.
Sorry.
That was a joke.
Tachi.
No. I unfortunately don't know enough about that woman.
Ayla Sakura.
No.
Oh, that would be slay. Barris.
No.
Okay. Is this a
Luminara Unduli is in this.
Is this another woman?
No. I know,
interesting.
that's why I was like, whoa.
Painful.
So is the other character...
is it Jango Fett?
It is not Jango Fett.
Okay, is the other character a bounty hunter?
No.
So they're not a bounty hunter, and they're not a clone, and they're not a Jedi.
Yes.
Is it Hondo Onaka?
No, it is not.
Okay, Luminara Hondo. That's kind of slay. If you're writing any
No,
Luminando
honestly,
fics,
I'm not
please
gonna
tag
lie.
me.
I'm not gonna lie.
Fernando.
Personally, to me, it feels hateful that Luminara is with this gentleman.
Paz Vizsla.
No.
Prey Vizsla?
Yes.
Get away from her.
I know. I was like, what are you doing here? Get
Okay.
away from her. Get a real job.
I think that is Luminara.
Luminara, no!
She can do so much better is the
Get
problem.
away from that white boy!
Listen, I feel like you could go to any like gas station in my area and find a guy who looks and sounds just like him. Like
You
she
just have a
can
bunch
do
of
better.
John Favreaus living near you.
Basically.
Oh my god.
It might as well be.
No, Luminara, no!
Luminara, get away from him.
I just was like, that is
No.
this
What-
is crazy.
So...
I mean, I'm gonna say I'm kind of fascinated by it.
Okay,
I'm
interesting.
curious,
Okay,
what's
wait.
the premise?
So this is interesting. In the notes of this, it says, for more context on this chapter, Pri is demisexual, Luminara is Aero Ace, and they are in a QPR and married according to Mandalorian vows, as those leave plenty of space for their specific relationship. They are also Republic married, but that is for more practical stuff. That is very interesting to me.
That is very interesting. I do like the idea of him being like, yeah, I hate the Jedi, honestly, but we can get married by the Republic laws. Like, I'm cool with that.
I'm no longer Death Watch. I'm married.
Exactly. Marriage.
Not him. Marriage fixed him.
Marriage
She
fixed him.
She saw him and said, I could fix him, and she did.
So true. Anyways, so that was my
That's-
fic. Once again, I don't think that like it's like curse. Ew. I'm just like that is fucking out of left field.
What the hell?
So this does not have many tags. I'm just gonna start there. And this was sent to me by, oh my god, MSL Lorna on TikTok and Instagram. Sure.
Oh, it's Miss Yorona, the person who makes the animatics of us.
Oh my god. Okay,
Yeah.
slay. I love being illiterate. Anyway, speaking of illiteracy, this fan fiction. So this is two characters. It's character A, character B. The tags are character A, CC6454 pawns, character B, and character C. The additional tags are crossover, or comfort, implied violence. I cannot tell you anything else.
Okay. So is character C from the crossover?
Yes.
Is it Harry Potter?
No, it is
Is
not.
Mace Windu involved?
Yeah, it's Mace
Yes,
Windu.
Mace Windu is character A. So it is Mace Windu and somebody else.
And then is this somebody else from the crossover, or
Yes.
is it another Star Wars character?
It's from the crossover, yeah.
So character B and character C are from the crossover.
Both from the crossover,
Okay,
yeah.
so we need to guess the
What
crossover.
what kind of media is the
Well,
crossover? Like, is it a book?
Is it a franchise?
A cross media franchise?
It's
Is it
a part of a
supernatural?
it's not supernatural.
It's
no.
a part of a franchise.
Yes, it is a part of a franchise, and that franchise is not Star Wars.
Is it
at
fantasy
all.
or sci-fi?
Closer to fantasy, I guess.
Is it the MCU?
Tangentially.
The DC?
That's
No.
not. No.
Is it Daredevil?
No, but you are getting a little closer.
Is it from?
Is it Jessica Jones?
No.
Is
it
it
from
from?
Moon Knight?
Seriously, though. It is Moon Knight. Character V is Mark Spector.
Wait, so it's Mace Windu slash
No.
Have you not brought one that
Wait,
is
oh,
Mace
wait, is
Windu
it
slash
Khonshu?
Mark? Wait,
Character C is Khonshu.
have you not brought one that was a Star Wars character slash Mark Spector to this podcast before?
No.
Yeah, but it wasn't
you
this.
did.
No, I have, but it wasn't this.
No, I don't.
That was
I do not
Jango. It was
believe so.
Jango. No, because
Jango
the last one
slash
was
Mark
Jango
Spector.
slash Mark Spector.
Yeah.
This is Moon
Mace
Knight
Windu
slash Mace
Mark
Windu.
Spector. Yeah.
Okay, slay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Wait, and then Pawn slash Khonshu.
No.
he's just there.
Sorry,
they're just
Pons
there.
and Khonshu are just
Oh,
here.
okay.
Pons and Khonshu are like waiting outside of the room while they're going at it, and they're just like,
Yeah.
"So, what do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I'm just kind of like, I'm his commander. I just kind of follow him around." He's like, "I guess you could say that about me and Mark too. You know, we're
The
kind of alike,
basics-
you and I."
The basic summation of this fic is Moon Knight slash Mace Windu, where Mark comes to the GFFA and just has to deal with all the things while the war is going on, and Mace just sort of accepts that he's part of the team. Like, I guess that Mark is just hey, and then they're in a relationship together.
Oh, that's so good. What the
so
fuck?
Thank you for
Obsessed with
sending
that.
that. I'm
That's
like, this
Samuel
is
L.
this
Jackson X Oscar Isaac.
well,
And you know what?
frankly,
As they
and-
should.
And here's the thing. I feel that I finally have an established brand of fics that I like to be sent because I find crossover so enjoyable. But I read this and I was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard. And I also love it. Like, I'm not saying that if you write more Mace Windu and Mark Spector fics to send them to me directly, but I'm not discouraging that behavior either.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for RuPaul's Pod Race. Episodes usually drop on Sundays, and while Kenobi is airing, we're back to weekly episodes. For updates, Star Wars news, and more cursed shit, follow us on social media at RuPaul's Pod Race on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you really love the show, please rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, or Overcast. It means a lot to us. We also appreciate everyone who told a friend or someone at Celebration about us. We can't wait to see you all at the next celebration. May the Force be with you, and don't griff it up.
Waka waka.
Waka.
Waka waka.